So I wanted to ask you because I've been trying this recently. I've been doing some time restricted eating. So I've been doing a 16/8, I believe,
Hmm.
if my maths are right. So I kind of finish around about 8 or 9 in the evening, and then sort of go on till sort of 12, 1 ish, more or less. That I keep it as that. And I've spoke to a few people about this. I see it seems to work quite well for me, and again, particularly if I'm traveling, like I did recently. What I was interested to know though is how this would work with a fast.
Yeah.
I read some stuff online where it kind of says that you're technically breaking the fast if you have this. I wanted to get your views on that, and in terms of fasting, and also you mentioned coffee earlier. Like if you were some of the stuff I've read mentions that you could kind of have a coffee with some oil and butter in it, and it doesn't break it, and that can help you kind of extend it. But if you were to do coffee, would you do your coffee first and then have this afterwards, or would you do that and break the fast and then do your coffee? A couple of
Yeah.
questions
But
there.
no, it's a good question, and it's very, very common. And with the rise in popularity of time restricted feeding, it's been very interesting to see because we have a huge number of people who engage in either every day or some format of time restricted feeding. And to your point, it's typically just where there is a window where you do not eat and then a window of time where you do. And under the extreme purest mechanic, any calories or anything that modulates any format of blood sugar, and that would include your coffee, is technically breaking your fast. Under the more rational folks that I'm sort of more in line with, I think I sit there and go, is it going to significantly be a source of calories? Is it going to um, sort of modulate your blood sugar in any meaningful way? And I'd say, so with AG, the answer is no on both counts. So we have people who practice time restricted feeding or intermittent fasting, the purest term again is time restricted feeding, um, who wake up and take AG on its stomach and might go many, many hours before they consume a significant source of calories and get amazing results. We have another group who do a mid-morning AG and then go a few more hours before consuming any source of calories. Then we have another group who just take AG 15 minutes prior to their first real meal of the day. And any and all of those are completely fine. I'm generally not a fan of the big fat bomb coffees. I think a tiny bit is fine. I mean, coffee is amazing. Everyone loves it. Just don't go overboard and how much coffee, and everything's going to be okay there. So the way I tend to do it most days is wake up. If I'm feeling really, really good, that day I might go a little bit longer before anything. And if I'm feeling even remotely dragging, the AG comes in really fast in terms of how I approach it. But there's nothing wrong with going wake, coffee, AG, wake, AG, coffee, or any combo therein. And I'd probably say the most common and most popular is some mechanic of waking. Um, some people are doing one than the other, but it seems to be that wake, coffee, AG morning ritual is really
Mm.
going for it.
Yeah, that's what I've tried recently, and I've left. Yeah, I kind of leave the coffee. It kind of it allows me to go on an extra hour. And to be honest, when I have the AG, however I do it, that seems to also give me like an hour or two for whatever I'm sure because of what's in it. But it seems to kind of almost fill you up in some ways. Not fill you up like you feel you've eaten, but it kind of seems to provide you with what you need from a sustenance perspective for a reasonable amount of time. And so that kind of leads to my second question in terms of how close to food do you do it? Because I've seen some people have kind of eaten it with food, and I don't know. For me, it kind of feels and it doesn't seem to. Just in terms of my body, it doesn't feel right to kind of have it too close to food, and I don't know whether that's because there's any reason or not, whether it's good or bad. So question then is how do you kind of what's the relationship with food? Does it not matter whether you take them close? Is it a personal thing, or should you kind of have a little bit of some sort of gap in between the two?
Well, I think with AG, your coffee, and when you both have your coffee, AG, and then eat, that's absolutely personal, and we have people do both. In terms of AG and food, my preference is always give it a 10 to 15 minutes prior to eating something else. And that might be before your first meal, it might be before a later meal, but most people it's before their first or second meal. And the reason for that is you're going to get better absorption with an empty stomach. And this is just the mechanics of how your gut works. You've got this lovely group of nutrients that are in solution. There's plenty of surface contact with the walls of and where you want the stuff to get absorbed, and there's nothing else messing up with that. Now, does that mean that you're going to ruin this if you have it in a smoothie or don't remember to have it 15 minutes before your meal and smash it while you're eating breakfast or lunch? Not at all. The most important thing is the consistency and the habit. And it's a bit like, if you do the perfect 45-minute workout, does that mean that the 30-minute workout was crap and a waste of time? Of course not. Main thing is you got it in. And I think for some people, they just prefer to do it around food, and that's completely fine. But my preference, man, is empty stomach. I don't mind before or post coffee. I've had guys send me photos of him doing it in a margarita. I thought that's novel. It's ultimately the habit stacking that works for you. It's the consistency that matters.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I like the empty stomach and a period before eating seems to, maybe it's psychological or what, but it just seems to kind of work better than having it too close. What about water?
I crack up when I see people firing. So you will absolutely absorb it better if you fire it in with something like in a smoothie or something else. It's probably not going to mess up too much. If you fire in with a ton of insoluble fiber, right, like massive amounts of fibrous material, you will mess up your absorption of the nutrients to some degree. In fact, you can take fibrous things with any element that might be sugary, and you will just slow that whole absorption and everything else, and potentially block it. Because the way big chunks of soluble fiber work is they kind of push things through, insoluble fiber, and kind of scour down through your gut. And that can be a great thing to push things along or add volume to certain things in your gut if that's what you really want to do. But it's like you wouldn't want to do this and say, someone asked me once, can I mix in like 2 scoops of Metamucil? I was like, that's the word, that's not what you want to do. So I'm just going to call out, like, there are exceptions to that rule. When I see people trying to sell any format of nutritious thing where it's about getting micronutrients and nutrient density and it comes with this big whack of fiber, I kind of look at it and go, they don't know what they're doing.
I do notice, and I've had people like that sort of struggle with this on a number of levels, but certainly early on in the day, it seems to have that effect of your bowel movements. Improves
bowel regularity.
Unbelievable. Yeah. It's sort of, that's...
So I think most of us have all sorts of messed up things in our gut, and that's a range of, we keep eating things that for us may be actually causing some damage to our gut lining. We tend to have had multiple courses of antibiotics. Most of us don't eat a decent variety. We have stress and other things that can mess things up. So anytime you move the needle better in any element of your gut health, you're just going to do better. It's from a health mechanic. And I think there's this huge chunk of the population, because it's sort of this taboo, unspoken about things, that either have some mechanic where they go to the toilet way too much, or some mechanic where they just don't go to the toilet enough. And if you can move the needle for both groups, and you're doing something great for both groups, I'm very proud of how we've done it, by the way. But yeah, man, it's sort of the unspoken added benefit of AG is improve regularity and consistency of bowel movement, which all of us do every day, but it's still sort of a taboo topic.